Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable guidance and inspiring words. Now we move ahead in the session. Now, I would like to briefly introduce our esteemed speakers for today's session. We are honored to have them with us and we look forward to their insightful and inspiring talks. So first, we are having Professor Sanobar Sabnamir, ma'am. She's a professor and a head of department of bioscience at Integral University, Lucknow. She has over 21 years of post PhD experience in molecular cell biology. Her research focuses on cancer biology, p53 aggregation, apoptosis, and autophagy. She has supervised more than 12 PhD scholars and secured major research grants. Her publications have received over 2,000 citations worldwide. She was awarded the Outstanding Researcher of the Year in 2023. I warmly welcome Dr. Sanobar Asmir, ma'am, to begin the webinar with an insightful presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers. Before I move on to the talk, to my presentation, I would take this opportunity to congratulate the founders, the co-founder Meghna, Seher, Meghna, and the team for dreaming so big. And as they say, a small step is it's the stepping stone to success. So you have taken the first step, and you have nurtured this organization over 2 years. I must congratulate you for coming across so successfully. And I would implore you that you should strengthen your team and should work more efficiently to upgrade and to keep up the scientific temper that you are building through this SciTech Club. So, first of all, accept my congratulations and thank you for inviting me to deliver this talk. Thank you, Seher. Thank you so much. I'm very overwhelmed because, student initiatives are always close to my heart. And seeing your idealism and seeing the way this organization has come up, I wish you all the best for future. And I can see that the future is bright. So moving on to the talk. So I'll be talking about why science communication is important. Needless to say, okay, just a second, I need to share the presentation. So is the presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'll be talking about, just a second, I'll be talking about science communication, connecting science and society. And the talk is divided into multiple aspects. But first, I would like to appreciate the words of the great scientist Albert Einstein, which can summarize the importance of science communication very effectively. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So, according to Einstein, effective science communication includes any complexity that has been simplified enough so that everybody can understand it, even a 6 year old. So, therefore, science communication includes translating complex scientific research into accessible language. Now, the question arises, why do we need to translate complex scientific research into accessible language? We need to do this for the general public so that our science can have some societal impact. For the policymakers, whatever policies have to be generated or the legislations that have to be passed, they should come through evidence based science that should be data based for media and other scientists. What is the goal? What is the goal of science communication? It's to create awareness, informing the general public, educating them, and inspiring action. Action amongst youngsters, like the community that you have created. By creating this community, Science Tech Club, you're inspiring action, and this is another example of science communication, because through these activities you are simplifying complex research, you are educating the masses, and you are inspiring younger generation of researchers. Besides that, science communication also helps you maximizing research impact through effective engagement. Why is good science communication important? We always ask ourselves these questions. Why is good science communication important? Should our scientific research be only confined to academic journals, or should it be disseminated amongst masses? So the first objective is to educate. The first objective of good science communication is to educate the public to make informed decisions. So when you're transparent about your science, when you communicate your scientific data effectively, you're educating the public to make informed decisions. They can decide on their own. They can make intentional decisions about their treatment plan. They can make informed decisions about their lifestyle. They can make informed decisions about the medicines that they want to consume. Second aspect is to make science more transparent, especially with government funding bodies. So, by communicating science effectively, you're building trust in science. You are making it more transparent so that the funding agencies can trust you for future funding. To address urgent issues like a pandemic, in the recent past, we have seen COVID as a pandemic, and we are well aware of what all misinformation was going on. So, effective science communication addresses urgent issues like misinformation, infodemic in scenarios of pandemic. We can inform and educate companies to bring innovations to market. When you're communicating science effectively, you are educating companies or different stakeholders which are capable of bringing innovations to the market. So you are helping in the transition of lab to bench to bed marketing, or whatever you're doing, whatever research you're doing at the bench site can be translated into actual products when you can communicate your science better. The fifth reason why we should communicate science is to educate decision makers with evidence based science. So, evidence based science is very important because it helps us develop scientific temper. It helps us get rid of superstitions. It helps us in public policy creation. Bridging the gap between lab and life matters. This is the power of science communication. Science communication helps us bridge the gap between lab and life matters. This cartoon here is an interconnected cartoon between different stakeholders. At one end of the triangle, you have the scientists. At another end, you have science journalists. You have the PR press officers. uh, all these are interconnected. The data that is produced by scientists is not usable if it's only confined to academic journals. Nobody will be able to see it. We are in an era where keeping the data confined in academic journals is not an option. We have to communicate science in a language that people can understand. Society in general, the humankind in general, can understand the impact of the science that is being performed by the scientists. And this is not an option anymore for all of you pursuing science, or the people who are pursuing careers in STEM. Uh, Science communication is not an optional add on, it's a social responsibility for all of you because we need to make the masses understand the scientific, the transformative power of science. And this triangle here very clearly uh, shows you the interconnectedness of discoveries and the dissemination of these discoveries through PR officers, through science blogs, through science journalists, and other actors in the field. Why bridging the gap between lab and life matters? First and foremost, to my mind, after everything else, why bridging this gap is important? It's important because it inspires the next generation of scientists. It makes science exciting. It attracts young minds. They say, I mean, it's a common phenomenon or the common dogma that we follow that catch them young, make science exciting, attract young minds. How are you going to do this? You cannot attract young minds if you do not make science exciting for a young person. If you're not able to communicate scientific concepts in a language that a 6-year-old or maybe a 8-year-old can understand. So we can see a real world scenario where people are generally averse to following mathematics as a stream or say physics as a stream. It's not that physics and mathematics are not exciting subjects. It's because people lose interest in physics and mathematics because it's not, communicated effectively. It's not taught effectively. So if you want to inspire the next generation, uh, and inspire the next generation and make science exciting for them, communicate science properly. This is the power of science communication. So use all kinds of methodology that is available with you. They may be blogs, they may be cartoons, they may be uh, magazine articles, stories. Use every pedagogy that is available to you. Uh, it also helps us in creating diverse science communicators, which can also help inspire underrepresented groups. There are a lot of people who are not represented well in scientific communities. So when you communicate science effectively, you create diverse groups of, inclusive groups of science communicators, which also helps in inspiring underrepresented groups. So, what is the impact? The impact is it helps us build a stronger, more diverse future STEM force. So, you have a more inclusive STEM workforce, which is uh, which is equal in terms of gender, which is equal in terms of race, and many other factors. So, bridging this gap is very, very important. And it all depends upon the power of science communication. The second reason why we should bridge this gap is for combating misinformation. So you have seen in your, I mean, it must be still fresh in your mind that during COVID, there were a lot of there was a lot of fake news and pseudoscience that was being spread rapidly online, and research has shown that negative reviews or any kind of pseudo kind of literature gets more hits as compared to the original scientific articles. So, this science communication, communicating science effectively helps us combat misinformation. It helps us uh, create clear communication by providing accurate and evidence based facts. So you can only counter pseudoscience by countering it through evidence based facts. So you have to convince people on the basis of evidence rather than getting rhetorical or rather than getting emotional about your arguments. You need to have evidence based facts. What is the impact? Impact is that it empowers people to make safe and informed choices. So if people are literate, people understand the evidence behind a particular scientific discovery, they will be empowered to make safe and informed choices. It helps build public trust. So, hidden science creates suspicion and fear. Again, I'll give you an example of the COVID pandemic. We still do not know where the virus originated from. We still have a lot of conspiracy theories going around, where people still suspect that it was the COVID virus was a genetically engineered virus. We do not know whether it was a genetically engineered virus or not, because there was no transparency in in warding off these fears. So if we have to build public trust, we have to communicate science honestly. So hidden science creates suspicion and fear. Transparency about methods, funding, and other factors reduces uncertainty. What is the impact? Impact is it fosters a culture that values and respects scientific progress. So, any scientific culture, or any culture for that matter, any country can develop where there is a culture that values and respects scientific progress. So, if we want to build trust, if we want to build the country, we have to have scientific temper. We have to believe in evidence backed by data, and we have to respect scientific progress. It also helps us secure research funding. So most of the scientific funding comes from public tax, dollars, rupees. It comes from the taxpayers' money. Whatever research grants we are getting from Government of India or any other foundation, that is all taxpayers' money in the form of grants. So this taxpayers need to understand the value of their investment. So they need to know what happened to the money that was utilized for generating data for a particular project, say for anti-cancer drugs or anti-diabetic drugs, or for any agriculture-based innovation, or innovation in safe, clean energy. So taxpayers have a right to know what was the value of their investment, and that can only come when we disseminate our findings properly, not only in academic journals but other resources too, where the common person can understand, okay, this is where my money has gone, and this is what the value of that investment was. What is the impact? Again, the impact of clearly explaining benefits helps secure future research grants. People feel more comfortable in paying money for future research grants, where the uh, where the findings have had some impact, societal impact, that is. The last and the foremost power of science, effective science communication, is guiding public policy. So who is making policies for us? Of course, we are not making policies for ourselves. Our representatives are basing these policies on data that is being put forth by researchers, or by economists, or by scientists. So leaders, political leaders, that is, they need scientific facts to write laws. Therefore, translating data into actionable executive summaries for lawmakers. So now this is a pertinent problem, rather, this is a pertinent gap. Our lawmakers do not understand the nitty gritties of science. So we have to communicate our scientific findings in such kind of actionable executive summaries which can be understood by the lawmakers. They need to understand what kind of science we are doing, what is our thrust area, why we have to spend money, say, on some intervention for food security. So, for that, we should be able to write legible executive summaries. And that is where our skills as science writers come in handy. We should acquire these skills, and this is one career opportunity where many of you can hone your skills by becoming good content creators, science content creators. You can help people translate data into actionable executive summaries for lawmakers. How will it help? It will help us in guiding policy decisions regarding climate change action, pandemic response, healthcare funding, so on and so forth. Therefore, the impact is huge here because people who govern public policy have to understand what are the priorities. So it ensures state policies are backed by data, directing legislation on climate, public health, technology, and ethics. So, of course, ethical considerations also have to be communicated effectively. Lastly, it enhances your own thinking. When you decide to communicate your findings effectively in a simplified manner, it enhances your own thinking. What is known as the Feynman technique. It's a very important technique, the Feynman technique. Feynman said that if you are able to communicate your ideas or make them understandable for a small child, it enhances your own thinking. You get clarity. You must have seen, when we teach other people, when you teach your younger siblings or when you teach your younger cousins, you can teach them only when your own concepts are clear. Or the teachers like us professors, our associate professors, assistant professors, we can teach something effectively when we are clear about the concepts. So it also enhances our own thinking. This particular technique is called Feynman technique. and what does it lead to? It leads to interdisciplinary collaboration because simple language allows experts in other fields to collaborate with you. So, for example, you want to design a sensor, so you need expertise of maybe an electrical engineer or maybe somebody from the tech side. But you need to clearly explain to the person what exactly you want, what are the metabolites that you are going to sense. So they're going to design the sensor based upon your inputs. Therefore, simple language allows experts in other fields to collaborate with you. It helps in giving you clarity. Explaining your work to a layperson reveals flaws or gaps in your own logic. So when you explain your work to a lay person, it also makes you kind of jittery, because if you have not understood your work properly, you'll not be able to explain it to somebody else. So whenever you explain your work to a lay person, it reveals flaws or gaps in your own logic too. Lastly, it helps in boosting your academic career and citations. So, in citations these days are important metrics for visibility. If you want to be visible as a scientist, you want to boost your academic career, to boost your visibility. Open communication increases the discoverability of your papers. Nowadays, you must have seen that papers are not only available in academic journals, they give you option to put it on Facebook, they give you option to share the links on LinkedIn. You have the option to create video lectures or short videos of your work, so that the communication can be impactful. So these modes of communication not only enhance your visibility, but they also help in open communication of your work. They make the work understandable for the audience. Then you have the altmetric factor. What are these altmetric factors? Altmetric scores track mentions in news, blogs, and social media. So, this altmetric factor is a factor which many of the indexing bodies like Scopus and Web of Science, Scopus has this altmetric score also for your publications. So what is this altmetric score? It's the score that tracks mention in news, blogs, and social media. and there has been a correlation between highly tweeted or publicized papers achieve significantly higher citation rates. So it seems, I mean, it's research backed. It's not probability. It's based upon research that highly tweeted or publicized papers, open access papers, they achieve significantly higher citation rates. So, for example, you're publishing in a journal which does not allow open access to your full article, you are reducing the visibility rates of your good work, good research work. So, highly tweeted or publicized papers achieve significantly higher citation rates. So, this is a gray area because most of the journals ask for academic journals, that is, they ask for article processing charges which are very steep, and many people, many scientists working in developing countries are not able to afford that kind of fees. Therefore they have to publish in hybrid journals, and that reduces their citation rates because their work, no matter how good that is, that the work is not accessible to people, and they cannot cite it. So higher citation rates are also directly, I mean, it has been seen that open access journals generally have higher citation rates because the articles are accessible to many people as compared to hybrid journals. The role of a researcher is evolving. You people, most of you may be, looking for a career in research as scientists, or as science communicators, or as people in the going into industry does not mean that you have to abandon being a researcher, because they also need you to get evolve, they also need you to upgrade. So the role of a researcher is rapidly evolving. Traditionally, what the researchers were doing, they would do the science, publish in peer-reviewed journals, and repeat the entire process. But now this role has changed a little bit. The modern reality is that we just do not have to publish in peer reviewed journals. We also have to disseminate, we also have to show societal impact of the journal. Why? Because funding agencies require broader impacts. They want us to give impact assessment of our work. Funding agencies are asking for impact assessment. What has been the impact of our work? What are our public outreach plans? So this traditional role has rapidly changed, and to keep up with the mandate of funding agencies, the scientists can no longer just be satisfied by publishing their work in peer-reviewed journals. They need to go for public outreach. They need to go for interviews or to have dissemination of their work. How? By creating impact stories, by creating case studies, by discussing case studies, by showing a product that has come out of their research. So this is that would be the evidence of impact that their work has created. Science is not finished until communicated. So this is the final takeaway. Communication is a core metric of research success. Communication, not only in academic journals, but through whichever media you are comfortable with. So you have to communicate because it's the core metric of research success. You can start small, you can use social media, you can write for university blogs, or you can practice your elevator pitch or the enterprise pitch. Some take home messages for all of you. To be an effective science communicator, you need to build strong relationships. I can see that through Science Tech Club, you have already gone into the first step. You have built strong relationships. You should widen connections. You should listen actively. You should appreciate differences. Differences of opinion should be appreciated. You should respect values and worldviews. You should identify and use resources. You should develop a team where you have a comprehensive team, people who are good at storytelling, people who are good at PR management, people who are good at dissemination of information. Be yourself, be honest, identify key components of your message. It will take time. You have come a long way, 2 years. You will go a long way too. It's okay to build your public profile slowly. It's normal to be nervous. Take time to reflect. So, this chakra of effective science communication, you should keep in mind and you should reflect on it every day and every hour of your time, waking time. These are the tactics that you can integrate. You should share science discoveries at conferences and events. You should talk with the news and press outlets, develop science content for the web. You should train leaders how to convey science. So, this is one aspect which earlier was lacking. Maybe this particular aspect can be integrated into the curriculum. We can train our students in science communication by introducing a paper in their curriculum. You can spread the message on social media channels. You can provide content to science publications, journals, and news outlets. But always keep in mind, do not spread fake news, do not spread pseudoscience. Disseminate only something when you are very sure that the evidence is backing what you're claiming. So your claims should be backed by evidence. Then only you should disseminate it. Keeping all these points in mind, these are some of the career options that people who are getting trained in STEM, but they can take alternative routes. They can become science writers. What does a science writer do? Specializes in communicating scientific information to a broader audience through the written word. Graphic designers, medical illustrators, they focus on science communication. They play a role in visually communicating complex scientific information to a broader audience. Audiovisual communication, videographers aim to visually convey scientific concepts and discoveries to a broader audience. So we live in an era where the attention time span is very low. We are used to watching reels and short span content. So some of you can delve in that domain also. You can create short snippets through which you can communicate science. These are some science communication tools which you should be aware of. So for tracking impact and visibility, Altmetric Bookmarklet is one of the tools. It's a free browser tool that lets researchers instantly see the online attention, news mentions, and policy citations of any published paper using its DOI. Every paper gets a digital object identifier. So by using the DOI, you can see how many citations have been garnered by your paper, whether the paper has been mentioned in news articles, whether it has gathered any online attention. It's just like, you go to Facebook and see, or, to Insta to see how many followers you have. Similarly, your science articles can also have followers. It can garner online attention by gathering news mentions and followers. Google Scholar Citation, this is another tool. It's essential for tracking traditional citations and setting up alerts when peers cite your work. Then for writing and public outreach, I in the early on I told you that science has to be done for societal impact. So our scientific observations, our scientific discoveries need to have some societal impact, and we have to make outreach to the general public. So these are some tools. The conversation is an excellent website where researchers write short news style articles about their findings, co-authored with professional journalists. It's highly read by the general public and policymakers. You must have, during your maybe studies, you might have come across Science Reporter or Down to Earth and many other, Scientific American and many other magazine type journals, magazines rather, which are good resources for general public and policymakers. Substack is great for researchers who want to start an independent newsletter to document their lab journey, literature reviews, or thoughts on their field. So, Substack is for researchers who want to start an independent newsletter to document their lab journey. For visuals and multimedia, you can use BioRender. BioRender is a tool, which helps you design graphic abstracts and graphics for your paper. Canva, many of you must be already using it, so you can use it for making visually appealing infographics or posters for non-academic audience. For networking, you can create a LinkedIn profile, which is crucial for postgraduate students looking to transition to industry, connect with corporate funders, or share their research milestones with professionals outside of academia. Then ResearchGate is the social network for scientists to share preprints, ask technical questions, and collaborate globally. So these are some of the tools in the science communication toolkit. You should keep them handy, and you can be a part of some of these tools, and you can also use these tools. You can develop the skill of using BioRender or Canva, or you can create instant notes using Canva and BioRender for your study domain. And this is one area. Medical illustration or scientific illustration is one area which where there is a huge gap, and this gap can be filled by students like you by using your creativity and your knowledge of science. So with this, I would thank all of you